Brief understanding of ignorance, knowledge, and wisdom. Ignorance, again, as I mentioned to you, is nothing to do with the academic knowledge. This is all to do with the ignorance that we all have about our own selves. That ignorance, which is this body, mind, and consciousness, are three different entities. And the body and the mind really cannot function by itself. It is totally dependent on the consciousness for its existence and to perform all actions in this world is the ignorance. And the fact that when something is dependent on something for its existence itself, then we classify that dependent entity as non-existent. That's the ignorance you need to understand. To give you an example, if you take gold and the ornaments that are made out of gold, the ornaments by themselves really have no separate existence aside from the gold itself. Since simply because you gave a name that this is a bracelet, this is a ring, it cannot be having an existence of its own. It is all the time dependent on the substratum called the gold. Therefore, it is not self-independent in terms of its existence. So, what is it? There is a ring. Yes, but the ring cannot survive without the gold, and therefore the ring name and the form of ring is dependent on this gold. In reality, it's really a non-existent name and form only. This is the ignorance which we must understand. So now we come to our own selves, which is the point that I want to drive home. When you say, I have a body, I have a mind, clearly they cannot survive by themselves because both of them are part of the basket that consists of all entities that are other than the consciousness, the spirit. Body and mind is matter principle. Matter principle cannot survive on itself. It requires some push from somewhere, and that push is coming to this matter from this consciousness. You cannot animate if you don't have consciousness. You cannot talk if you don't have consciousness. You can do nothing, in fact. It's just a piece of wood, almost dead, if consciousness support is not available to this body and mind. Therefore, the existence of body and mind depends on the consciousness. Therefore, the body and mind is to be considered as reality of the lower order. It's real, but it's reality of the lower order, not having a self-independent existence of its own. Therefore, we consider that almost as non-existent, intellectually speaking, just like how we said the gold ornament ring is dependent on the gold. Really, it doesn't have an existence. This understanding is required, and if you don't have, then we call it as ignorance. And all the trouble comes because of this ignorance. The primary cause of all our problems, including the problem that comes because of the division, it's all because of this ignorance. So you must get rid of this ignorance. If you want to get rid of me, you need to get rid of ignorance. Now comes knowledge. All of us have knowledge, for sure. In fact, the combined knowledge of the 18 people that are sitting in front of me may just make me a dwarf in a second, for sure. There's so much knowledge all of you have got through experience. The issue is knowledge has got two components in it. One is called the right knowledge, and the other is called the wrong knowledge. Only in Sanskrit, this language is available for you. Right knowledge and wrong knowledge. If you're burdened, it could be either because of ignorance or because you're treading the path of wrong knowledge. And knowledge and experience is not wisdom at all. In fact, wisdom is opposite of knowledge and experience. It's got nothing to do with the wisdom. Wisdom is the why of everything. Knowledge is what of everything. If you don't know why certain things are happening, you may have the knowledge. It's what is happening here in a chemical reaction. But why it is happening is the wisdom part. Very simply speaking, at a physical level. But at the emotional level, wisdom is far different from the knowledge. And you require wisdom to be able to differentiate between the truth and the relative truth. SRT. SRT is essentially to be understood as the energy propensities, which in Sanskrit is called the gunas. A lot of discussions is going to take place with regard to SRT. So I'm just going to only briefly make you understand. So 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, are the product of ignorance, which is the energy. Energy itself is ignorance, and we are all the creation of that energy, and automatically we will inherit an important property of that energy, because all energies must have these 3 properties called SRT. And because we are product of this energy, automatically we will have the SRT in us. Therefore, every product, every object that you see in the world, which is a creation of the energy, all of them will have SRT in it. Starting from a stone, to a flower, to an animal, to a bird, to a wall, to a brick, to a snail, to a human beings, to an elephant. Everything in this world will have the SRT component. What does this SRT do? 2 things. As far as human beings are concerned, it is what determines your inner personality. You know, we are talking about empowering yourself from emotional standpoint. If you don't understand SRT, you cannot empower yourself. You may say, I'm good, I'm that, I'm this. But until you fix your SRT, you cannot be powered. You have the power, but you're still suffering from ignorance of SRT. So if you don't know SRT, You cannot empower yourself. We'll have a separate discussion on SRT. So right now, this is good enough for you. SRT determines your thinking, your actions, your behavior, your character. The constant changes that you see in the world outside is because of the constant changes that take place in the SRT configuration. They are never going to be steady. And as long as SRT keeps changing, you will have to face this changing behavior of people with whom you will have to react or act. So relationship is very important for transaction. You have to recognize that all the relationships will have SRT, which is up, down all the time. So therefore, you face the music. Vasanas. Vasanas are, simply speaking, impressions that you gather at every interface that the five sense organs have with the world outside. Instantaneously, there is an impression that gets formed. It's not evaluated as of now because you haven't used the intellect to interfere with the impression to decipher what exactly this impression is all about. Once the intellect comes into the picture, which is part of your mind, then you understand this impression is 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. If you see a tree, for example, you just see an object in front of you first. You have no idea. Then you have words that come inside, which people have already created, and you start to associate this tree with the words that you have gathered from the whispers of the world, and then link the two, and then the intellect will tell you this is to be called as tree for future communications. Until that time, it's impression. And impressions are caused all the time. Continuously, you are causing impressions because the impressions are caused by the interface of the five sense organs. And the five sense organs are all the time available to you during the entire waking stage of your day. So you can imagine how many vasanas you are creating. But the issue that you need to understand about vasana is you can create a positive vasana or a negative vasana. Somebody who is predominantly driven by a negative energy propensity is in no way going to form a positive vasana about anything in life. The moment I look at something, the first thing that I will say, oh, this is not good. You know that. We have seen so many people doing that, right? Nice tea is made by your spouse. It's not hot enough. The sugar is less. It's not smelling good. You see how we react because the energy that you already possess in you in the SRT factors is negative. So you create a negative vasana instantaneously. And then when you drink that tea, it's never going to taste good for you. So be careful about vasanas. Forming vasanas. Karma. Very huge topic. Very huge topic. All I would say is watch the karma. It's bad. Is it? No, it's not bad. It's very, very bad. So watch it. Watch it like a hawk. Because everything that you perform, we all know, is going to come back to you by way of consequence. Our problem is we only think what we do with our hands physically, we see it, they are karmas. But the biggest number of karmas are performed by verbal karmas, vachika karma, and manasa karma, which is thinking. Just for a minute, close your eyes and think for yourself. In a day, how many things you think about, how much you talk about people, criticize. Just think for a minute. It's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. And every action is classified as a karma, and you will bear the consequence of it. That's why I said not bad, very, very bad. So if you performed negative karmas, you know what you have to do. Number of experiences, number of real situations that we see in life every day, it's just unimaginable. Ego, egoism, egotism. Ego basically is the me in you. Me consisting of the body, mind, and one more element called the reflected consciousness. Because your consciousness that you think you have, with which you are acting and reacting and able to become aware of things, is not the original consciousness. It is the reflection of this huge consciousness that I talked about at the beginning of today. Its reflection on your mind is what makes this mind become conscious. And because the body, in a way, like the two sides of the coin, is associated with the mind reflects it, because the mind is also a reflecting medium like a mirror. So what comes from the consciousness, the original awareness principle, which makes you become aware of everything in this world, actually is a reflection on your mind. And then when it hits your mind, you start understanding or become aware of what is in and around you. Obviously, because the mind is so small, you can't understand at a given point of time everything that is there in this world. Whatever the consciousness reveals to you at that point in time, in that location, that's all you will know about. And on top of that, if there are upadhis or adjuncts, this mind will not be able to reflect everything that this consciousness is showing you, even within the small location. What is the limiting adjunct? Is simply this. If you stand in front of a mirror, which is very straight and simple and nice, you can see yourself perfectly all right. But if that mirror is a concave or a convex mirror, your own body will start looking lovely, better than the original, is it? That is the upadhi on the mirror, the reflecting medium. So the upadhis are basically part of the mind. And the upadhis are caused directly in relation to the karma that you're going to experience. So you can understand, consciousness is revealing everything exactly the same way to all the people. But some people are able to understand this quickly and others are not. Others think, what is this? I don't even understand this. Because there is upadhi there, according to his or her own karmic consequences. So ego consists of three things: body, mind, and reflected consciousness. Egoism is basically to say, I am doing the work. The I factor comes. I am performing. I am doing this. All that stuff is the egoism. Egotism is, I alone can do this. No one can do this better than I. That is egotism.